Pool has a money problem. Now, you already know that. It's all over my feed this week. There's no money in pool posts, podcasts, and YouTube videos. Thank you, Darren Appleton. That was great. They all touched on what I believe is a symptom, not a root cause of this issue. And that symptom, by the way, is the fact that, by and large, most professional pool players, when it comes to tournament winnings at least, don't even make a living wage. Now, there's a lot of nuance there, and I will speak to some of it, but that's not really what I want to get into today. Everyone's talked about that enough. What I want to talk about is what I see as the source issue that no one seems to be really getting at. Because I believe that the whole conversation changes once you get into the why behind the size of the prize funds in this game. Yes, I know this is another talking head video. There's no instructional stuff this week. I'm sorry. But I think with the US Open just around the corner, this becomes an important issue to bring up. And I will be back to regularly scheduled programming soon. I promise. Now, I know this bleeds into all promoters, but I'm mostly going to be talking about Matchroom here and use them as the example because honestly, they are the most relevant to this conversation. If you have been under a rock this week, essentially you got guys like Eklund Kochi, Darren Appleton, like I said, and some posts floating around Facebook, and then podcasts like Melina Mike and Mike Pinozzo on Dogging It talking about just how skewed the payouts are towards the top finishers of any given tournament, and also the size of the prize funds. Right? For 128 player and 256 player fields, they're kind of laughably small. If you look at the 9-ball rankings, which is solely based off of winnings, by the way, which is insane to me. I'll come back to that in another video. You look somewhere around rank 50 or so, meaning if you are the 50th best player on the tour, you are making about $30,000. Not in 1 year, over 2 years. And that's before flights and hotels and entry fees and food, all of it. You guys, that is not even close to a living wage. And these players, all who are the best in the world at something, deserve a living wage. Now, the definition of the word deserve, by the way, is to have earned or be worthy of something good or bad because of one's actions, behavior, or qualities. So this is not about entitlement when I'm talking about players needing to be paid more in winnings. And I think we can all agree on that. Now, I already know what some of you are thinking. Nate, all these players, or most of these players are fine. They got sponsors, they got social media, they sell products, they run clinics and teach lessons. And yeah, a lot of them do. Because they need to. Right? Needing to be more than a pro pool player just to make ends meet is pretty far below ideal at the professional level of any sport. Now, like I know it's apples to oranges, but if you look at golf's 250th best player, right? We're talking about 256 player fields. Those golfers at the very bottom still make a living wage, at least. Just for playing the game. But they don't... Anyway, don't take what I say out of context here. I know it's different than pool. It's a totally different sport. That's a whole other video if you want to get into it. I don't know much about golf, but I know that they make a lot more money at the bottom than we do, okay? Just think about what we are saying when we are collectively okay with pros needing to pick up cash elsewhere just to be able to compete in the first place. So we're saying that a, quote, professional pool player can't make a living doing their, quote, profession. They can make a living by only playing pool if they are one of the top 10 or so, or if they also become a content creator, a brand ambassador, a product designer, a salesman, a coach. on top of being a world-class pool player. Look, like some guys can do that, right? Look at Fedor Gorst. But I mean, he's freaking Fedor Gorst. Not everyone is Fedor Gorst, and you need a lot of capital to be able to do something like that. So when I say that tournament winnings need to pay a living wage, I just mean for playing the game at the highest level. It's already an insane accomplishment to be there, right? Playing at that level. It's already a very hard thing to do. And that's the bar. Right now, we are nowhere near that bar. Okay, brass tacks. Right now, just for this conversation, I'm gonna draw a hard line between what I'm actually talking about, okay? Professional tournament winnings, that's the conversation. The prize money, more importantly, where that money is supposed to come from and how we get it. I'm not talking about the 9 and 10 ball formats, the rules, the minutia of the game. They matter, but not for this conversation and not for the folks who aren't watching Pro Pool yet. I'm also not talking about ranking points and the calendar or the tournament structures or who gets a wild card for Moscone. Like, who gets a wild card for Moscone and who doesn't? Like, trust me, believe me, I got a lot to say about those things. I'm sure there will be other videos, but that is not the topic here. Like, that's not the issue. Again, those are symptoms. Today is about the disease. The disease is low viewership and low interest in pool. But before I go further, I want to talk about Matchroom. Give them some credit here because they took on something huge and they are putting real effort into getting the game going. So kudos to them on that. ESPN Plus deal, their own app, hiring an agency, all of that. But a lot of us feel like we were promised this golden era of pro pool. And what we got, at least lately, feels like it has slid backwards. Now, I'm not going to pretend that the frustration there isn't fair, because it is, but I mean, maybe it's premature frustration, especially with some of the circumstances that Matchroom is under, but it is valid frustration. They haven't quite delivered yet. Okay, I am hopeful. Hear me out. So let's actually follow the money here. Where is the money, the prize money, supposed to come from? Right now, a huge chunk of it comes from the players themselves, right? The entry fees. And that money only goes so far. The rest of the money comes from, quote, added money. Now, this is the real crux of the video. There needs to be money coming in from outside of just the players' entry fees, outside of pool. Right now, the only money in pool is the money in pool from the industry itself. Maybe not entirely, but that's the gist. We need sponsors from outside of the sport for players to get a livable wage, livable earnings, right? So networks and big companies with big marketing budgets and, you know, all the rest, that is where the money's going to come from. I'm going to hone on that element here because in sports, money only shows up, hear me out, when there is a story worth broadcasting. I'll say it again. Money in sports shows up when there's a story worth broadcasting. I think we're just not asking the why enough here because that is where the money is. It's not in the game or the rules or the production quality. That's only maybe half the battle when it comes to getting money into pool from outside. Money is going to come from numbers, viewership, audience engagement, ticket sales, subscriptions. You don't get that stuff by just having a buttoned up production. You get that from viewers being emotionally invested in the story of what's happening in a match, in a tournament, in a season. Focused narratives driven by players, characters, if you will, in the grand arc of the pool saga. Tell me that's not more interesting. Because if there is no focus on the emotional investment of the viewer, then there's no reason for them to care about tuning in. They just don't care. So to Matchroom and to all of the promoters of this great game, it is not the game itself. The game is not enough. Making 9 or 10 ball more entertaining does not move the needle like you think it does. Perhaps maybe to the right viewer, the ones who are already somewhat tuned in, sure. But if you want to speak to an enormous untapped audience, millions deep, that already play pool, your potential viewers who own cues and love the game, that is a huge audience that just isn't tuning in, right? You haven't given them something to care about. That's what's missing in this conversation. So pool is plenty big. You don't have an audience problem. You have an interest problem. You guys, my whole professional career has been in video production, much of it in advertising and marketing. So maybe it just feels different to me and I see it differently than others, but there's plenty of proof of concept here. Let me give you a couple examples of where this has already happened. Okay, and the first one is a bit more focused on the entertainment itself, but it is something that Matchroom is already after because they are the ones that are the example for it. Darts. Darts is the same game it has always been. Same rules, same board, same distance, same everything. But they turned it into an event. Walk-on music, nicknames, characters, and a crowd is losing its mind. Like they gave people a reason to show up, and then the prize money exploded. Winnings that went from a few thousand to $1 million. It's not just that darts got better, like the experience got better, and then the money followed. Okay, my only caveat here is, like, this is only part of a solution, right? You can't really do exactly the same thing with pool, at least with the ticket sales side of it. At least I don't think so. Pool is too global for that. The logistics would be tough. However, the vibe, the energy that gets people to an event like that, I think that's something we can chase and benefit from. The entertainment value does go a long way, just not all the way. Because the second proof of concept here, I think, has much more relevance to my actual message, even though it's nothing like darts or pool. Take a look at Formula One. The Netflix series Drive to Survive was already a massive Super Bowl-sized production every race weekend. But then after the show, the US viewership more than doubled. Globally, fan base grew over 60%. And here's the part that actually matters. When they surveyed fans, 1 in 4 fans that watch Formula One worldwide said that the Netflix show was the reason why they watched. Not the race results, not the drivers, the relationships between the engineers, team principals, rivalries, watching a career rise and fall from the ground up. Like, they built an avenue for the viewer to be emotionally invested in the drivers. That's the model. Emotion first, story first, character first, pool players first. So that's the model. I mean, look at golf too, right? Again, I know relatively nothing about golf, but I sure as hell know who Tiger Woods is and the effect he had on viewership. Lord knows I don't enjoy watching golf. It's not the most exciting game to me as a non-golfer. And yet, Tiger Woods. So, of course, Netflix is very unlikely to fund a sports documentary series on pool players, but it's the proof of concept that we should pay attention to. We should be using media of all kinds to dig into the emotional reasons for being invested in watching this great game. You know, we already have proof this works in pool. The one event the pool world revolves around every year. What is it? The Moscone Cup. Go ahead and ask yourself why the Moscone Cup hits different. It's not because the pool is better. It's the same guys that play all year. It's because it sells the storyline and the energy. USA versus America. Will America win it back? Who's on the team? Who got left out? Who's got beef with who? The electric environment. The crowd is in it. The build-up and the press conference, the promotional material. People actually care about that stuff. A focus on the players, the trash talk, the stakes, the emotions. You guys, that's storytelling. The issue is that's too short-lived. It only exists for the Moscone Cup. I love the Moscone Cup. It's great and all. I cannot wait to be there this year. But there's no reason we can't treat the whole season, the whole game like that. Yes, different events are gonna carry a different weight, and that's okay. But like I said, it's not about the game itself. It's about everything surrounding the game. Now, I will say, while Matchroom is trying to promote 9-ball in a somewhat dramatic way, the promotional material, in my view, with my background, is just not dynamic enough. It's just so hard to care. There's a lot of production going on, but it's also a lot of like generic voiceover slapped over a clip of a few guys hitting balls and minimal context, no story, just no substance, right? Tune into the biggest event in pool. Like that's most of promotional content in pool. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about it. Don't get me wrong, we still need that promotional stuff, but we got to start thinking outside the box when it comes to getting folks who do know about pool but don't care about the tour to tune in. That same kind of promotional stuff that is coming out, the way it currently is it's not generating more eyeballs. It's only serving as a reminder for folks who are already going to tune in anyway. Where are the stories, the origin stories, the rivalries, the mini docs? You guys, like what happened last week? We had that Robbie Capito soft break situation. We need that, but ramped up by like 100 times. Like they're trying. I know they're trying. You can see it. And I also know that it takes a lot of money to hire an agency to create content that gets people tuned in and targets those players that are currently not watching. But if we invest in the stories, the audience will start to get emotionally connected to the players and the stakes. Like Dennis and Alexa, Dennis and Alexa last week, Jesus Atencio, Muhammad Sufi. You guys, why do we love watching these players? Because we love the players themselves. Now take that angle and go 10 times deeper. You do that enough with enough players, now suddenly you have viewers at the edge of their seats rooting over every ball. And that's how you build viewership. Now again, I'm not saying that storytelling is a magic wand. It's not. But that is the engine that makes this train move. The product still has to be good. The production still has to be good. The payouts and tournament structure, calendar, all that has to change too. But none of that gets funded unless sponsors and networks have a reason to write bigger checks. And that reason is viewership. So build the characters, reveal the storylines, make me care about who's on screen. Everything services that, and the audience will come. The money will come. Solve the interest, solve the money. Okay? Now maybe I'm wrong about all this, but we'll never know unless we try. So let me know what you think in the comments. I will see you there. Happy shooting.